The IT conversation most organizations avoid longest has nothing to do with price. Timing is the harder question, and when to actually make a new purchase.
These systems that they buy will run 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Then you come along in year 6 and you recommend that they implement this new system, and they're like, yeah, but that means I'd have to learn everything new. I'd have to change all this. I'd have to rebuild this. I have to pull this all out. I have to migrate all this data. I have to train people. I have to da. And so they'll end up just keeping it.
Most people are just happy sticking with what they have because it's the devil they know. The moment they have to start buying new equipment, implementing new equipment, planning for downtime, planning for training and upskilling for people to get new systems, most people aren't interested in that.
Renewing support on aging systems feels like a choice, but at some point, the choice gets made for you.
Manufacturers have this kind of condition that's considered to be planned obsolescence is the terminology for it. So they'll build a product, they'll release it in 2010, and by 2020 they have it written in their product design that that product will no longer be available for sale and it will no longer be supported, period. Doesn't matter how much you pay or how hard you yell, it just won't be supported. So at the end of 10 years, they are forced to buy something new. So that's kind of the hard deadline. But I guess the sad fact of the matter is that customers will run these products as long as they are physically able to, usually, even if it means that they are giving up on a feature set or speed or efficiency or whatever, because it is so much work to replace that equipment with new equipment. So they will simply just renew support on it for as long as they possibly can until they're forced into a no support situation, and then they will buy. Unless, there are some caveats, unless their competitors have like completely moved out ahead of them with a technology that is beating their pants off, and then they have FOMO, so they go out and they buy something even better to be able to beat their competition. But I'd say for the most part, it's because they don't have much choice but to refresh it after a certain obsolescence period.
There's also other things that pop up that may happen before planned obsolescence, but it's the nature of the world you work in, like security. So you probably like your Windows 10 laptop and you were just fine with it, but you got a notification that said you had to go to Windows 11 because Microsoft isn't going to support it anymore, etc. But they didn't really tell you a whole bunch of reasons why. But what you find out is Windows 11 needs to work on a laptop that has a second processor, and that second processor is dedicated to security, and they're trying to tighten things up and protect you, the end user, from all the nasty, nefarious things that are going on in the outside world. So, I think some people may have bought a Windows 10, laptop, say in the last year of its supporting, thinking that was going to be what they needed for the next, say, 5 years. And all of a sudden, Microsoft comes out and says, I'm not supporting it anymore. You need to move to Windows 11. And it's all to do with security. And you might say, well, I don't need all that stuff. Well, you just dead-ended yourself if you stay where you are. And now you're forced to move forward. So sometimes things happen because of the marketplace. So there's what your competition is doing. There's what is going on relative to the world you operate in. And that's why I said security. So you're trying to protect yourself. Sometimes you are doing very well and you're very successful, and your infrastructure needs to be improved, have additional capacity or strengthened because you're growing. You're adding employees, you're opening up new markets, you've got more databases you're loading or whatever.
And don't forget legislation and regulations too. So if the government comes out and says everybody must run their systems within Canada, suddenly that requires a whole lot of purchasing of equipment to run their systems within a Canadian data center as opposed to running it in Google or Amazon or something. Or if they say that every piece of data must run through a firewall, so now every customer in the electrical industry must buy a firewall to protect their data. So that's another reason for them to buy equipment.
When any one of those forces shows up, the timeline is no longer yours to control. The organizations that fare best are the ones who tackle it early, with the right support.
And I want to make one thing clear about that too. So we are the customer's advocate. So we also don't want to see them throwing away gear 5 years into a 7-year cycle or 7 years into a 10-year cycle. We want them to get the most out of it. That's where we add our value. The non-enterprise sellers are the ones that simply chase after an opportunity because they see a dollar sign and they expect to flip the entire environment for $1 million to something brand new.
In practice, that advocacy looks like a partner who's regularly and proactively asking questions that affect how your environment thrives long term.
What are you guys doing? What are you working on? What's coming up? What are you hearing from the business units? How is your environment performing? Do you need a health check? Is there something else we should be looking at? What are your planned projects? What do you see on the horizon this year that we have to address? And because you have that ongoing dialogue, you have an idea of what's going on, and it's not a complete surprise.
That's not a complicated process. It just needs to involve a consistent conversation, and it starts before anything breaks.